You don't hear of things like Walmart closing. Walmart.
A shocker tonight for suburban shoppers. Walmart announcing it's closing 3 stores.
We have new information about Walmart's plan to close 2 of its San Diego stores.
At the beginning of 2025, Walmart, the retail giant with over 3,600 stores, shocked everyone by announcing the closure of many locations. A brand famous for low prices like Walmart is now forced to downsize right at home. So, what is the real reason behind this? Causes of import tariffs and their impact on prices. Did you know that import tariffs on Chinese goods once peaked at 145%, then dropped to about 30%, but still enough to cause prices to soar? This isn't just a number on paper. It's a real cost businesses must pay when importing goods. Take a clear example. Barbie dolls, which used to cost $10.49, have jumped to $14.99 in just 1 week. Child car seats also rose from $350 to over $450. These aren't luxury items, but everyday essentials for many American families. Can you imagine how much pressure this puts on consumers' budgets? And that's not even counting other products, from food to household goods, which are also facing similar price hikes. There's no denying that high import tariffs have deeply changed the price structure, raising consumer costs and making life much harder for many Americans, especially while the economy remains unstable. Walmart's strategy and government, expert reactions. Faced with this situation, Walmart couldn't stay idle. They quickly shifted sourcing to countries like Vietnam, India, and Mexico, where costs are lower and tariffs aren't as high as on Chinese goods. As you can see, this is a practical move to reduce costs and keep prices competitive. Moreover, Walmart has accelerated automation, using robots and AI in warehouses and stores to cut labor costs and maintain profits. However, the U.S. government demands that Walmart absorb the tariffs and not pass the costs on to consumers by raising prices. But economic experts say otherwise. Import tariffs are real, unavoidable costs. No matter how hard Walmart tries, these costs will eventually affect the business or the consumer. Simply put, absorbing tariffs without raising prices is almost impossible in business. Do you agree with this? Economic, social, and financial consequences for Walmart. The trade war not only raised prices but also heavily impacted jobs in local economies, especially in rural America. Millions of workers lost jobs or faced reduced hours as Walmart closed warehouses and scaled back operations. Domestic suppliers lost contracts as Walmart shifted to foreign imports, severely affecting related industries like transportation and services. Small communities suffered major losses, from rising housing costs and tight school budgets to strained healthcare services. Although Walmart's Q1 2025 revenue reached $65.61 billion, profits declined due to rising costs, including import tariffs and inventory expenses to avoid tariffs. This signals a warning that the trade war is weakening large companies' financial health and causing long-term negative effects on the U.S. economy. The original goal of the trade war was to protect domestic industry, but in reality, many companies like Walmart have moved operations abroad to avoid tariffs, pushing costs onto consumers and reducing domestic jobs. What do you think? Does this policy truly protect U.S. industry or only harm workers in local communities? Walmart is adapting to survive in a tough environment, but the price U.S. workers, especially in rural areas, pay is job losses, lower incomes, and economic instability. Will this situation continue without causing even more serious consequences for America's economy and society? Walmart reports a 4.5% increase in sales growth, but also warns of major price hikes due to Trump-era tariffs. The Walmart CEO says the company can no longer absorb the pressure, and American consumers, especially in red regions, will be hit hardest. Price hike warning. Walmart has just issued a warning that product prices are set to rise sharply in the near future, with the primary cause being the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration on imported goods. Although Walmart's revenue has increased by 4.5% compared to the same period last year, CEO Doug McMillon stated that the company can no longer absorb the rising costs from these tariffs. Given its massive scale and presence in nearly every region, Walmart simply cannot continue to absorb these higher costs without adjusting prices. This means consumers will be the ones bearing the burden of these changes. American consumers will face the direct consequences of these tariff policies. In particular, people living in red areas, where Walmart holds a dominant market share, will feel the impact most acutely. In these regions, Walmart is not only the most popular store, but often the only source for essential items like food, diapers, and medication. As prices for these necessities rise, residents in these areas, who often lack alternative options, will be hit the hardest. These tariffs don't just influence the price of products, they directly affect the daily lives of people who rely on Walmart for basic necessities. As a result, their standard of living is clearly impacted. In the end, consumers in these regions will be forced to pay more for the essentials, an outcome they can hardly avoid. Tariffs and the consumer impact. When people hear the word tariffs, many assume it's a tool to make other countries pay more, but the reality is quite different. Tariffs aren't costs paid by foreign nations. They're ultimately borne by American consumers. Major retailers like Walmart cannot continue absorbing all the increased costs from tariffs and are forced to raise product prices to compensate. Walmart, with its strong presence in rural areas and red regions, where support for tariff policies is often highest, will be the first place consumers feel the impact of rising prices. Essential everyday items like food, baby diapers, and medicine, products that most families depend on, will become more expensive. In these areas, Walmart isn't just a popular store. It's often the only store offering these necessities. As prices go up, residents have no choice but to accept higher costs. That's why these communities become the hardest hit by tariff policies. With no affordable alternatives available, they face growing financial pressure, increasing the burden especially on low-income families. Price pressure and the silent long-term effect. Although tariffs on some Chinese goods have been temporarily reduced to 15%, price pressures have not eased. Walmart, like many other retailers, has stated it can no longer absorb losses to maintain old prices, and as a result, it will have to raise product prices. This isn't a sudden shift. It will unfold gradually and quietly. Consumers won't notice it immediately, but over time, they'll feel the rising cost of living. Essential items like food, baby diapers, and medicine, things most families need daily, will become more expensive. In fact, these changes may occur without consumers fully understanding the cause, making them feel the impact only at the checkout. This is a long-term burden consumers will have to bear, one that will slowly strain household budgets across America, especially among low-income families. Who suffers most? And a question to ponder. So, who suffers the most from these tariffs? It's the working class, low-income earners, and especially families in rural areas where Walmart is king. They'll feel the price pressure more than anyone else. And that raises a big question. Do these policies really put American people first, as claimed? The answer might make you rethink everything. Ask yourself, is this a war over money, where the American consumer is the real loser? Did you know that in just the past year, food prices in the U.S. have risen by 13.5%, the highest increase since 1979? And Walmart, once the symbol of low prices, and is gradually losing its position because of this. Why are consumers increasingly stopping their food purchases at Walmart? Rising prices and losing customer trust. Walmart used to be the top choice for families looking to save money, especially those with limited incomes. The price increases on essential items like eggs, milk, and meat have not only added financial pressure but also made customers feel betrayed, as the place that once helped them save has now become more expensive. When prices go up while incomes don't keep pace, consumers begin to reassess the value they receive. They ask not only, am I really saving money, but also, why should I pay more when the quality doesn't improve? This is the main reason many loyal customers lose trust and switch to other stores or supermarket chains where they believe they get better value for their money. Declining product quality and poor shopping experience. The drop in product quality is a serious issue that erodes customer confidence. Walmart's choice to source from cheaper overseas suppliers to cut costs has loosened quality control. As a result, many fresh foods spoil quickly, meat and seafood lose freshness, and some even have unpleasant odors. Electronics and clothing are often less durable and break down faster, making customers feel cheated. Moreover, the in-store experience is getting worse. Shelves are often empty, products are disorganized, making it hard to find items. There are fewer staff available, and their service is less attentive, leaving customers without the support they need. Worse, poor security, increased theft, and rising crime make shoppers feel unsafe, further reducing their willingness to shop at Walmart. All these factors combine to create a terrible shopping experience, pushing consumers further away from the chain, changing customer policies and social environmental impact. Walmart's customer policies are increasingly reducing satisfaction and loyalty. Return policies have become more complicated and strict, causing customers to spend more time and effort to get refunds or exchanges. This is very different from the convenient, easy service image Walmart once had. Additionally, the Walmart Plus membership program, promoted as offering special deals, does not provide discounts on essentials like milk, eggs, or meat, leaving many feeling misled and disappointed. On the social side, Walmart's intense focus on cost-cutting puts enormous pressure on small businesses and local workers. Many small stores close because they cannot compete, and workers for Walmart's suppliers often face low wages and harsh working conditions. This negatively affects local communities and small economies. Environmentally, Walmart partners with suppliers who have low standards for waste management and greenhouse gas emissions, contributing to pollution and climate change. Today's consumers are more aware of these impacts and carefully consider where they shop to protect both their health and the environment. A new direction for Walmart: how to regain customer trust. To regain customer trust, Walmart must return to its core focus: product quality. Prioritizing partnerships with reputable suppliers who maintain strict quality control will ensure fresher food and more sustainable products. At the same time, improving the in-store shopping experience, from tidy product displays and more helpful staff to enhanced security, will make customers feel comfortable and safe at Walmart. Moreover, promotions and membership programs need to be clear, transparent, and truly beneficial to consumers, especially on essential daily items. This will not only retain current customers, but also attract new ones. Finally, Walmart must build honest and open communication channels with customers, listening to feedback to continuously improve services and products. Only then can Walmart rebuild sustainable relationships and restore its leading position in the U.S. retail industry.
President Trump, a short time ago, telling Walmart that the company should, I'm quoting now, eat the cost, end quote, of higher tariffs. The comments come after the retail giant said this week that it would raise prices because of Trump's tariffs being too high. Walmart has more than 4,600 stores in the U.S. It's also the biggest private employer in the country with 1.6 million workers.
Shares of Walmart fell as much as 5% Thursday morning, after executives said the retail giant, known for its advertising of low prices, will have to start raising them later this month due to the high cost of tariffs. The announcement is a clear signal that U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war is filtering through to the American economy.
Walmart, the largest retailer in the U.S., is facing pressure from import tariffs ranging from 10 to 30%. These tariffs target goods from China, Vietnam, and India. They impact over 1 million jobs and push consumer prices up by 5%, reducing the purchasing power of millions of American households. Tariffs on imported items like electronics, toys, and food products from China and other countries have substantially raised Walmart's input costs. Specifically, in the first quarter of fiscal year 26, Walmart's net income dropped from $5.1 billion to $4.49 billion, despite revenues reaching $165.61 billion, lower than expected. CEO Doug McMillon emphasized that tariffs have created significant cost pressures, forcing Walmart to shift production to Mexico and Southeast Asia to reduce expenses. The company plans to invest $6 billion to expand 1,500 stores in Mexico, creating 5,500 new jobs. This clearly demonstrates the direct impact of tariffs on profitability and corporate strategy in the U.S. This shift in supply chains abroad leads to a reduction in demand for labor in traditional manufacturing regions within the U.S. Walmart is also aggressively adopting automation, aiming for 65% of its stores to be serviced by automated technologies by 2026. While the company commits to maintaining overall employment levels by 2026, shifting workers into higher-paying roles, these changes still significantly affect the domestic labor market. Furthermore, small and medium-sized suppliers and domestic distribution centers are likely facing challenges due to lost contracts or scale adjustments, resulting in localized unemployment and reduced purchasing power among affected workers. Walmart has announced plans to raise prices on certain items starting late May 2025. with more pronounced increases expected in June. Products impacted include toys, electronics, and imported food items such as bananas and avocados. This price hike reflects not only rising input costs, but also triggers a ripple effect across the entire product value chain. According to the Tax Foundation, current tariffs equate to an average tax increase of $1,200 per American household in 2025, reducing spending capacity, especially among middle and lower income groups, thereby negatively impacting economic growth. Although initial market reactions were wary, Walmart's stock price reached a record high after the latest financial report, indicating investor confidence in the company's global supply chain optimization. Approximately 60% of Walmart's grocery products are domestically sourced, maintaining a balance. However, the trend of shifting production abroad is increasingly evident. This shows that current tariff policies are not sufficiently attractive to retain businesses in the U.S., as companies prioritize cost reduction and operational efficiency on a global scale to remain competitive. Tariffs have increased production costs and pushed consumer prices higher, while negatively affecting jobs and the competitiveness of domestic manufacturing sectors. According to the Penn-Wharton budget model, tariffs could reduce U.S. GDP by 8%, lower average wages by 7%, and impose an average lifetime loss of $58,000 per household. The critical question remains how to balance protecting domestic industries with creating a flexible and sustainable economic environment. Trade policies must be designed with a long-term vision, not only safeguarding immediate interests, but also ensuring the competitiveness and stability of the U.S. economy in the future. Did you know Walmart just announced a quarterly revenue of $165.6 billion, a staggering figure that leaves everyone amazed? But at the same time, prices at this retail giant are skyrocketing daily, making countless American families struggle to stretch every dollar. Imagine this. Tariffs on imported goods, especially from China, once reached a shocking 145%, more than doubling the product's value. Although now lowered to around 30%, the volatility and historically high tariff rates remain a significant burden for importers like Walmart. Walmart isn't a manufacturer, they gather goods worldwide. When facing such extra costs, the easiest way to balance the books is to raise prices for consumers. Groceries, household items, school supplies, none are spared. American families, especially low and middle-income groups, feel this price hike in every shopping trip and receipt. This decline in purchasing power causes people to skip non-essential products, spreading negative effects across the retail market and related services. No one enjoys paying more for essentials. Interestingly, despite Walmart's quarterly revenue topping $165 billion, their profits are shrinking significantly. Rising shipping costs and soaring import tariffs erode their already thin profit margins. Walmart cannot simply absorb all these costs without affecting operations. Holding prices low without adjustment could force cuts in investment, workforce, or service quality, all ultimately harming consumers. Therefore, Walmart publicly raises prices as both a business strategy and a transparent signal about the challenges they face. This sheds light on the broader struggles of major companies amid global economic uncertainties and constantly shifting trade policies. Beyond raising prices, Walmart is implementing profound changes in supply chains and operations. To reduce tariff costs, they are shifting sourcing to countries with lower tariffs like Vietnam, India, and Mexico, where production and import expenses are more manageable than China's current rates. Simultaneously, Walmart is pushing automation at warehouses and stores to boost efficiency and cut labor costs. However, this means fewer traditional jobs in American communities, especially where Walmart is a key employer. While saving costs, automation raises unemployment concerns, causing many families to lose stable incomes. In short, Walmart faces a tough choice between survival and profitability in a difficult market, but the price may be paid by American workers. This shift also demands new skills from workers, pushing the labor force toward technology-focused roles. Workers without access to training may find themselves left behind in this fast-changing environment. Local economies dependent on retail jobs may face increased instability and social challenges. At the same time, automation helps Walmart maintain competitive pricing in a volatile global market. Balancing cost-saving innovations with community welfare remains a critical challenge for the retail giant. The effects of price hikes and labor changes go beyond individuals to deeply affect communities, particularly in rural and suburban areas. Here, Walmart is not only a shopping hub, but a primary source of employment. Cutbacks in staffing reduce household incomes, weaken purchasing power, and trigger negative cycles like lower local tax revenue, which harms public services and social welfare. Moreover, as consumers spend more on necessities, they cut back on other expenses, decreasing revenue for many sectors and services in the economy. This creates a difficult cycle: rising prices, reduced spending, falling revenue in other industries, slower economic growth, fewer job opportunities. Amid America's ongoing recovery from the pandemic and inflation pressures, such Walmart changes could slow progress and add challenges for both citizens and policymakers.
Ryan, Ford CEO Jim Farley recently said in an interview that he was concerned the tariffs would have a devastating impact on the U.S. auto industry and benefit foreign competitors. Is that your view?
Yeah, the auto industry is already hurting from steel tariffs, which are raising their input costs. That alone can add a few $100s to the sticker price of a new car. If you add 25% tariffs, even for an American producer like Ford.
And this is very modest. What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
Ford is facing a massive loss of $1.5 billion in 2025, resulting in the closure of major manufacturing plants in Chicago and Michigan. Thousands of workers have suddenly lost their jobs. Are the 25% tariffs on imported auto parts the solution to protect the American auto industry? Or are they causing more harm by destroying jobs and threatening the sector's future? The government has imposed a 25% tariff on imported auto parts and vehicles from countries like Mexico and China. As a direct consequence, Ford has been forced to raise vehicle prices by nearly $2,000 per unit. This substantial price increase immediately reduces Ford's competitiveness in the market. Consumers facing higher prices may delay purchases or switch to competitors not affected by such tariffs, causing a decline in sales. Ford now expects to lose approximately $1.5 billion this year. To manage costs, the company has announced the closure of important production plants, significant cuts in manufacturing output, and widespread layoffs. This issue is not temporary. It represents a prolonged economic shock that will affect thousands of American workers and their families over the coming months and possibly years. Ford's difficulties do not exist in isolation. Major automakers like General Motors, Stellantis, and others are similarly impacted. The North American automotive supply chain, once tightly integrated and efficient, is now experiencing significant breakdowns. The just-in-time manufacturing system, which relies on parts arriving exactly when needed to minimize inventory costs, is severely disrupted. Delays caused by tariffs, customs inspections, and border congestion mean essential components are held up longer than expected. This disruption forces assembly lines to halt temporarily or slow down, leading to lost productivity and job cuts. It's estimated that millions of vehicles could be delayed or produced at lower volumes, impacting both suppliers and consumers. The America First trade policy, championed by President Trump, aims to protect domestic jobs by imposing tariffs and encouraging companies to bring production back to the U.S. However, the automotive supply chain has been developed over decades and spans across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico in a highly interconnected manner. Suddenly reversing this system is not simple. The disruption caused by sudden tariff hikes resembles shaking the hive of a well-organized network. It increases production costs and reduces efficiency, hurting the very jobs it intended to protect. While America First sounds ideal in political speeches, the complex economic reality reveals that restructuring supply chains and domestic manufacturing takes time, significant investment, and careful planning. It is not a solution that works overnight. The closure of plants in Michigan, Indiana, and other states means thousands of workers face job loss and uncertain futures. Many families experience immediate income reductions, leading to lower household spending. This reduction in consumer demand triggers a chain reaction in local economies. Small businesses and retail shops struggle, some are forced to close, and public services face budget shortfalls. The social fabric of these communities is stressed, as unemployment brings additional challenges, including increased demand for social assistance and healthcare. Local governments are working to provide support, retrain displaced workers, and stimulate economic diversification. But these efforts will take time to yield results. Despite challenges, Ford is adapting by diversifying supply chains within the USMCA to reduce tariff impact. They are investing in automation to cut labor costs and expanding their electric vehicle lineup, which faces fewer tariff issues. Government support through tax incentives, worker retraining, and infrastructure improvements can boost domestic production. Local economies should diversify to reduce risks. Consumers should expect higher vehicle prices soon, but can take advantage of incentives for new and electric cars.
Over 1,500 John Deere workers in the U.S. lost their jobs within weeks. Thousands of parts are blocked due to Canada's tightened export policies, crippling the supply chain during peak season. John Deere, an American agricultural icon, is facing a serious crisis. Do you think this will impact the entire U.S.? Canada tightens exports, triggering John Deere and farmer crisis. John Deere, the steadfast symbol of American agriculture, is facing an unprecedented crisis. Did you know that in just a few weeks, thousands of workers at U.S. plants have lost their jobs? All because of one move by Canada, tightening exports of critical parts and nearly paralyzing John Deere's long-standing supply chain. What's remarkable is that Canada didn't need threats or loud protests. They simply tweaked a small clause in export regulations. Yet that tiny change created massive barriers. Factories from Iowa to Nebraska had to halt operations, with workers left watching silent machinery unable to run. Can you imagine bustling showrooms once filled with green and yellow tractors suddenly going empty? John Deere dealers face severe parts shortages, and farmers, right in the middle of harvest, struggle with broken equipment they can't fix in time. Harvests are disrupted, yields drop, and the livelihoods of millions of American farmers are shaken. Hard to believe, isn't it? Widespread socioeconomic impact and government response. The crisis at John Deere isn't just an agricultural problem, it's triggering a severe ripple effect across rural American communities. Can you imagine? When machinery shortages cause farmers to lose income, who's left to shop at local stores? Countless shops are forced to close due to lack of customers, banks lose revenue and tighten credit, making it even harder for people to get loans. This leads to heavy consequences for local schools. They have to cut budgets and reduce education programs, directly impacting the future of an entire generation. Meanwhile, Midwestern states like Iowa, Michigan, and Ohio are now pleading with Canada for relief while racing to attract foreign investment to salvage the situation. But here's the thing. The federal government still hasn't offered strong enough solutions to turn things around. This is fueling growing frustration and worry among citizens and local leaders. This isn't just an ordinary economic issue, it's a dangerous warning sign for the whole country. Do you think America is facing a crisis far bigger than we realize? Market shift, farmers turning to Chinese and Korean machinery. An unexpected turning point. Many John Deere dealers have started importing machinery from China and South Korea to keep their operations running. Brands once viewed as foreign outsiders are now gradually capturing the rural American market. Companies like BYD, NIO, and Hyundai are seizing this opportunity to rapidly expand their market share. Do you think this shift is just a temporary alternative? Or will it completely reshape the American agricultural landscape? As farmers are forced to choose for survival, this could mark a major turning point, signaling a permanent change. This shift isn't merely a short-term substitution, it's deeply transforming long-held habits and trust among American farmers, heralding a new era in the highly competitive and dynamic agricultural machinery market. Strategic warning, a lesson on economic power and the future of U.S. manufacturing. The John Deere paralysis isn't just an economic incident. It's a stark warning about the economic power wielded by neighboring countries. With a small policy change, Canada has pushed an American manufacturing icon to the brink of collapse. This serves as a reminder that the U.S. must restructure its supply chains and manufacturing strategies if it wants to maintain its global leadership. John Deere. Workers, farmers, and American agriculture stand at a historic crossroads. What do you think? Can the U.S. adapt and revive, or will it lose much of its position in global agriculture?